Well, as the convener for the Integrated Use of Management System Standards for ISO, the handbook was started in 2008 and it's under revision, as you know. The three takeaways from it, we've consulted both developing nations and developed nations in relation to how do they integrate various management systems, both ISO and non-ISO, management system standards into their business. Specifically, the takeaway is about their business processes. We're very aware that Annex SL, high-level structure, 9.1, when they wrote it, it said that the management system standards, when we write them to be standardised, are written in a standard format. We know that. But what people didn't realise is the second paragraph. It says that it's not meant for people to document their management systems by the high-level structure. So what we've done in the Integrated Use of Management System Standards as a takeaway, we'll be showing them that there's many organisations that have process models, and a process model, like I showed you in regards to the aerospace, space and defence and also automotive, they've built various numbers of process models. So the process model is important. ISO 9001 says you can use plan, do, check, act. Now it says can do, and the context of the organisation is very powerful. That means that in building an integrated management system, if you've used whatever process model, any improvement model, whatever that is, just keep it. You don't have to use the plan, do, check, act model. Some people call that plan, please don't change anything. So therefore, what we're trying to do with the Integrated Use of Management System Standards is also embrace the improvement aspect. So if organisations wish to select a lean or a Six Sigma or a benchmarking process to improve, that we want to give the second takeaway is use your process-based model to then take that process, make the improvements in whatever way you want, and then once you've made it, implement it, watch it in regards to stability and capability of the process, as we've just seen in regards maturity models, COBIT and so forth, to see how the process performs, and then audit that process as to whether it did achieve its objectives. I suppose the third takeaway is that people have documented information, and the power of ISO 9001 and also Annex SL is that the documented information gives organisations the flexibility, whatever documentation they have, to embrace that. Don't have to change it to any template. That's the way that you can actually build a management system. So for people that are in developing nations, I think that they'll see this as a refreshing handbook, because they won't be repeating the mistakes that many of us have done in the developed world, but they can develop an integrated system that will enable them in the future to integrate other standards as they become more familiar to them and they find relevance to those standards. The traditional role of a quality manager or a risk manager or an environmental manager or so forth has been that they've been kind of boxed into that role, and that the board of organisations or management teams would probably see them that way. And I think what's happened with regards to risk management or the management of risk is there's risk in everything we do. So I think for the business systems manager now, I wrote a white paper, SI Global, on this, that at the management review meeting, that the business systems manager, if you want to call it that, could encapsulate, could embrace a few management system standards or other aspects to have relevance to the ERP implementation. So when they do their integrated business process model, picking an SAP or a PeopleSoft or a Bain or something, Oracle IT system, or doing something on, say, the theory of constraints and identifying bottlenecks in processes or IT security, that the business systems manager is now being able to expand their horizons to think, oh, I'm across all this. These are all risks to the business. So instead of just reporting on quality or environment, they can take a broader view. So when they sit at the management table, they might only get called in for the management review meeting once a month or once every quarter. But that business systems manager now has the opportunity to be kind of a bit more eclectic, holistic across the business, and therefore probably more relevant to the business. I think it's going to be a growing field that people will gradually find creep up on them. What I mean by that is it'll be ubiquitous eventually, and everything we do is risk. And I think for young people, I have 5 kids and 5 granddaughters. I'm not sure that they would kind of understand what I do in this, but I would say that people understand risk a lot better now, that risk is part of the nomenclature of business. In almost everything, we tend to do assess a risk when we go to do something nowadays. So for young people, I would say that when they're doing their studies, to understand that how the impact of engineering, the impact of it doing something in accounting, architecture, or the arts or social sciences, or looking after kids with disabilities, all of them, I think from my experience, my son's in disabilities, and he has to do the assessment of the risk in performing some activity which involves kids in music or art, and so it's built in, which was refreshing to see. My other children are into banking and teaching and so forth. So I was just taking those examples from my own personal experience, that I'm surprised how much risk is embedded into some of the things. And I think it's like one of those breakfast cereals, like Sultana brand. The ad goes, don't tell them it's good for them and they'll eat it. And I suppose it's a bit like this. If you don't keep on mentioning your risk, but embedded in everything they do, they'll just take it as, oh, this is the way I do things.